Uncle told me I'd never own property. Then I bought the strip mall where his store is located. I'm standing in the cramped back office of his store with the smell of cardboard and cheap air freshener fighting for dominance. And my uncle's face is doing that slow, confused tilt people get when the world stops matching their script. He's holding the new lease packet like it's written in a foreign language. His thick fingers keep catching on the staples, tearing the corner, and he's breathing through his nose, fast little huffs, like he's trying to stay calm for the security camera in the ceiling. "This is a joke," he says, but it lands flat because his voice isn't sure. Then his eyes drop again to the signature block, and he reads my name out loud like saying it might make it less true. "Mara Klein." He looks up at me, and there's a flicker of something that almost looks like fear. "Why is your name on this?" My mouth is dry, but my hands are steady, which surprises me because my heart is trying to punch its way out of my ribs. I can hear customers out front, coin tray clinking, the door chime going off, somebody asking about lottery tickets. And the normal noise makes this moment feel even more surreal, like we're having a family war inside a place that sells energy drinks. I keep my voice low because I'm not here to humiliate him in front of his cashier. Because the ownership changed, I say, "I'm a landlord now." He laughs once sharp like a bark. "You," he says, and it's half disbelief and half insult. He flips the papers over, looking for the catch, like maybe I'm the assistant to the real owner. No, I know the owner. I've been here 12 years. His eyes flick toward the window, toward the strip mall parking lot with the cracked paint lines and the sad little landscaping. "Who did you buy this from?" I tell him. He goes still. You can actually see his throat move when he swallows. Then he tries the only thing he's ever tried with me. The same tone he uses at Thanksgiving when he wants everyone else to hear. "So what is this, Mara?" He says louder now. "You think you're going to play big shot? You're going to throw your own family out?" It was a Sunday barbecue 8 years ago when he first said the thing that never left my head. We were at my grandparents' place. Those folding chairs that always pinch the back of your thighs. Burgers char because my uncle refuses to flip them too early. Everyone shouting over each other like being heard is a prize. I was 24, living in a studio that smelled like my neighbor's cigarettes, working 2 jobs, and trying to pretend I wasn't scared about money all the time. My Uncle Rich had just bought himself a new truck he couldn't afford, and he was in that loud, braggy mood he gets when he's insecure. I mentioned casually that I'd been looking at home listings just to learn. He turned slowly, beer in hand, and laughed so hard my little cousin asked what was funny. "You," he said, and he didn't even try to hide the contempt. "You'll never own property. People like you always rent. You don't have that mindset." He tapped his temple like he was doing me a favor. "You're a paycheck person. You think small. Always have." Everyone went weirdly quiet in that way families do when someone says something mean enough that it's not a joke anymore, but they don't want to confront it. My mom's mouth tightened, but she didn't say anything. My dad stared at his plate like it could rescue him. Rich's wife did that fake laugh and said, "Oh, Rich," like that made it harmless. And I sat there with my paper plate in my lap, cheeks burning, swallowing humiliation like it was a normal food group. That's the pattern in my family. Rich says something cruel. Everyone pretends it's humor, and the person he aimed it at is expected to be mature and let it go. He's the loud uncle, the honest one, the one who says what everyone is thinking, even when no one was thinking it until he planted it. I didn't cry that night. I drove home gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ached. Then I went upstairs to my studio and sat on the floor because my couch smelled like mildew and I didn't want to touch anything, and I opened my banking app and stared at my checking balance like it was personally laughing at me. I remember thinking very clearly, "Fine, I'll rent. I'll rent forever, and I'll still be a person." And he can choke on his own ego. But here's the embarrassing truth. That sentence got under my skin. Not in a motivational poster way. More like a splinter you can't stop touching. Every time I paid rent, I heard him. Every time I watched a landlord paint over mold and call it updated, I heard him. Every time Rich strutted around family parties like he owned the world because he'd been a business owner, I heard him. Because Rich didn't just say it once. He said versions of it for years. Well, I got a better job. Entry-level accounting. He called it desk work. When I took night classes to get certified, he told me I was collecting paper. When I moved into a slightly nicer apartment, he said, still renting though. Like renting was a moral failure. And the thing is, Rich rents too. He just never says that part out loud. Rich's store is in a strip mall on the edge of town, one of those tired-looking places anchored by a laundromat and a nail salon. His shop sells a little of everything. Snacks, phone chargers, vape stuff, lottery, random, as seen on TV junk. He calls it my business, but he doesn't own the building. He never has. He pays rent to whatever investor group owns the strip. That's normal. That's fine. Except Rich has built his entire personality around ownership, while literally paying a landlord every month and acting like he's superior to anyone with an apartment lease. I didn't start buying property to spite him. I started because I got tired of paying rent increases for the privilege of hearing my upstairs neighbor practice drums at midnight. I started because I like numbers and systems, and once I learned how mortgages and amortization worked, renting started to feel like pouring money into a hole. I started because I wanted something stable that was mine. I'm not some overnight success. I didn't manifest anything. I lived like a monk for years. No vacations. Old car. Side work. I tracked every expense in a spreadsheet like it was a religion. I learned how to read inspection reports. I listened to podcasts while meal prepping chicken and rice. I bought my first duplex at 28 with a first-time buyer program, and I was terrified the whole time. I slept with my phone on my chest for the first month, convinced a pipe would burst and I'd lose everything. Then I kept going, slowly, one unit, then another. I didn't tell my family much because every time I did, it became a performance where Rich tried to teach me like he was the wise elder businessman. He'd say stuff like, careful, tenants will ruin you, like I hadn't been managing my own lease agreements for years. He'd give me advice that was either obvious or wrong. And if I ever corrected him, he'd smirk and say, see, that attitude, that's why you'll never be a real owner. So I stopped sharing. I smiled. I let him talk. I built quietly. Then about 6 months ago, my broker called me on a random Wednesday and said, don't freak out, but the Cedar Ridge strip might hit the market. I almost dropped my phone. Because Cedar Ridge is the strip mall, the one with Rich's store. Why? I asked, and my voice sounded too calm for how fast my heart started beating. Owner's retiring, my broker said. Want a clean sale. Off-market if we can move quick. It's not glamorous, but the numbers are decent. Tenants are mostly stable. I remember sitting at my desk, staring at the stapler, trying to make my face normal because my coworker was walking by. My first thought wasn't revenge. My first thought was, oh God, if Rich finds out, he'll make a thing. My second thought was, this is the exact kind of asset I've been looking for. Small commercial. Multiple tenants. A step up. I did my due diligence like my life depended on it. Rent rolls, leases, CM charges, insurance, roof age, parking lot condition, tenant history. The whole time, I kept telling myself, it's just a building. Rich is just a tenant. Don't be emotional. But my stomach still flipped every time I saw Rich's market listed on the tenant sheet. Because I knew if I bought it, the family would treat it like I'd bought a throne. I moved forward anyway. The sale process was intense. Inspections, environmental checks, financing calls where I felt like my brain was melting. And then, 2 weeks before close, my broker called me and said, we've got a weird bump. What kind of bump? I asked, already dizzy. Someone contacted the seller, he said carefully. Said you're not qualified. Said you don't have the cash. Said you're unstable. My skin went cold. Who? There was a pause. Then, it came from a number linked to your uncle's store. I sat so still my back hurt. My fingers went numb. You're kidding, I whispered. I'm not, my broker said. The seller asked about it. I told him we have your financials. You're fine. But yeah, someone tried to spook him. I didn't call Rich. Not then. I didn't have proof. It was impersonally. I had an angry suspicion and a lifetime of pattern. I just kept going. Quietly. Efficiently. Because if Rich wanted to play sabotage games, I wasn't going to give him drama. I was going to give him paperwork. We closed. I didn't post about it. I didn't tell my family. I didn't announce. I just went through the boring steps. Updated insurance, set up utilities in the LLC name. hired a property manager for the common area maintenance, scheduled repairs the old owner had ignored, and sent introduction letters to tenants. Standard stuff. Professional stuff. Rich didn't read his. That's why I'm in the back office now, watching him discover reality by accident, because he didn't believe the letter until he saw my name on the lease renewal package. He holds up the packet like it's evidence in a trial. "You bought the whole strip?" he says loud again. "Yes," I say. He stares. His face cycles through emotions too fast to name: shock, then anger, then this ugly little grin like he's trying to take control of the narrative. "So what?" he says, shrugging one shoulder. "You want applause? This isn't even real property. This is a dump." He gestures around his own office like insulting the building will somehow insult me. "It's a building with tenants," I say. "It's a business." Rich snorts. "Yeah, and I'm one of them," he says, leaning back like he's suddenly comfortable. "So you're going to give me a family rate, right? We'll just keep everything the same." There it is. The assumption. The entitlement disguised as humor. I point to the first page. "Your lease is expiring," I say. "We're offering renewals. The new terms are in there." Rich flips pages fast. His eyes scan, and I watch his face tighten as he hits the numbers. "This is higher," he says, voice rising. What is this?" "This is a rent hike. It's market rate," I say. "The previous owner was undercharging. Also, you're behind." His head snaps up. "I'm not behind," he says instantly. I pull out another sheet. Not dramatic, just factual. "You are," I say, and slide the ledger forward. 2 months, plus late fees. Rich's face goes red. "That's wrong," he barks. "I paid. Not according to the bank records," I say. "If you have receipts, send them. If not, we need a payment plan to cure the balance." Rich stares at the ledger like it betrayed him. Then he looks at me again, eyes narrowing. "So this is what this is," he says slowly. "This is payback." I blink. "Payback." He leans forward, voice low and venomous. "For what I said," he hisses. "All those years ago. You're doing this because you're petty." My hands tighten on my folder, but I keep my face still. "Rich," I say, "I don't care about that barbecue. I care about the building. If you were any other tenant, this would be the conversation." He scoffs. "Sure." And I add, because the truth is sitting there like a weight, "You tried to interfere with the sale." His expression flickers, just a tiny crack. "What?" he says too fast. "You called the seller," I say. "Or someone from your store did. Told him I wasn't qualified." Rich's mouth opens, then closes. His nostrils flare. He tries to laugh it off, but it doesn't land. "I don't know what you're talking about," he says. I nod once. "Okay," I say. Then we're back to the lease. For a second, he looks like he might explode. Then he does something worse. He shifts into victim mode. Rich stands up, spreads his hands like he's preaching. "You're really going to do this to me," he says loud enough that his cashier out front glances back. "After everything I've done for this family. After I took you to school when your mom couldn't. After I helped your dad with his truck. After I—" "Stop," I say, sharper than I mean to, and he freezes because I almost never raise my voice. My throat burns. "This isn't a family favor," I say, forcing the words out steady. "This is a lease renewal. You either sign and pay, or you don't." Rich's eyes flash. "So you're going to throw me out?" "I'm giving you options," I say. "A renewal at market rate, and a payment plan for the arrears. Or you can decline and give notice like any tenant." Rich shakes his head like he can't believe the audacity of reality. "You think you're better than me," he says, quiet and nasty now. "That's what this is. You think you're some big landlord now." I look at him, really look at him, and what I feel isn't triumph. It's exhaustion. Years of swallowing. Years of letting him make me small at family tables. Years of watching everyone accommodate him because it's easier. "I don't think I'm better than you," I say. "I think you're used to bullying people into giving you what you want." His face tightens like I hit a nerve. He steps closer, lowering his voice. "If you do this," he says, "you're going to blow up the family. Your mom is going to hate you. Your grandparents." "Don't," I say, and my voice is calm again. "Don't threaten me with family approval like it's currency. I'm done buying peace with my boundaries. We stare at each other in that cramped office while the strip mall hums around us. Customers buying snacks, a delivery truck backing up with a beep beep beep, the faint music from the nail salon next door. It's such a normal setting for such an ugly moment, and it makes me feel weirdly grounded. Like, this is what it is. A man trying to keep control. A woman refusing. Rich finally snatches the packet. "I'm not signing this," he spits. "Okay," I say. "Then your current lease terms apply until expiration. After that, you'll need to vacate unless we have a signed renewal." He laughs, bitter. "You think you'll find another tenant?" he says. "This place is trash." "I've already had 2 inquiries," I say, because it's true. The market isn't what he thinks it is. But I'd rather keep existing tenants if they're stable. "Stable," he repeats, like it's an insult. I stand because the conversation is done. "You have 30 days to respond," I say. "If you want to discuss a payment plan, email me." Not my mom. Not my dad. Me. Rich's eyes blaze. "You're going to regret this," he says, and I believe he believes that. "I regret letting you talk to me the way you do," I say softly. This is just business." I walk out before my hands start shaking in front of him. I make it past the shelves of chips, past the cashier who avoids eye contact because she can smell the tension, and out into the parking lot where the sun is too bright and the air smells like asphalt. As soon as my car door shuts, my breath comes out in a shaky rush like I've been holding it for years. And of course, the family finds out. Because Rich doesn't quietly handle anything. He performs. That weekend, my mom calls, voice tight. "What did you do to your uncle?" she asks like I keyed his car. I close my eyes. "I offered him a lease renewal," I say. "At market rate." "He says you're raising his rent to punish him," she says. "He's behind on rent," I reply. There's a pause. Then my mom says, "He's stressed." I rub my forehead. "Mom," I say, "I'm stressed too. I just don't make it everyone else's problem." By the next family dinner, it's open season. Rich shows up acting wounded. He makes jokes about me being the slumlord. He loudly tells my cousins, "Careful what you say, she'll raise your rent." People laugh nervously. My grandma looks confused. My dad tells me quietly, "Can't you cut him a break?" Like I'm refusing to pass the salt. And I realize this is the real test. Not the lease, the family pressure. So I do something I've never done before. I bring the paperwork. Not to rub it in, to stop the rewriting. When Rich starts telling everyone I'm evicting him out of spite, I set a folder on the table and say, calmly, "He's 2 months behind. Here's the ledger. Here's the renewal offer. Here's the payment plan option he refused." The table goes quiet in that stunned way it does when a loud person's story hits a wall. Rich's face turns purple. "You're really going to do this here?" he hisses. "You did this here," I say, nodding at the room. "You brought it here." My mom looks at the papers, then at Rich. "Is that true?" she asks, voice small. Rich blusters. "It's complicated," he says, which is his way of saying yes. My dad's jaw tightens. My aunt shifts uncomfortably. My grandma says, "Richard," in that disappointed tone that makes him flinch like a child. And for the first time in my life, Rich doesn't have the room under his feet. The air changes. Not because everyone suddenly becomes brave, but because evidence is heavy. It sits there. After dinner, Rich corners me in the hallway. His voice is low and furious. "You think you won," he says. I look at him, and I feel something I didn't expect. Sadness. Not for him losing power. For how much of our relationship was always going to be this. Him needing to be above someone. Me refusing. "I didn't buy that strip mall to beat you," I say. "I bought it because it was a smart deal." He sneers. "Sure, you can sign the renewal and stay," I say, because I'm still giving him a door even now. "Or you can leave. But you don't get to keep being late and calling it family." His eyes flicker again, panic this time, because beneath the bluster, he knows his margins are thin. He knows moving costs money. He knows he's been coasting on a landlord who didn't enforce terms. 2 days before the response deadline, I get an email from Rich. Not a call, not a dramatic confrontation. An email. It's short, misspelled, angry in the way all caps can be angry without admitting fear. He wants a payment plan. He wants the renewal. He wants no more increases for 2 years. He wants everything. I reply professionally. Payment plan, yes. Renewal, yes. No promise on 2-year freezes beyond what's in the lease and a standard annual adjustment clause. I keep it clean. No emotion. No remember when. Just business. He signs. And I wish I could end this with him apologizing, with some heartfelt moment where he admits he was wrong about me, where the family claps and the turkey tastes better and everyone grows emotionally. That's not what happened. What happened is quieter and more real. Rich stopped making jokes about my hobby. He stopped talking to me like I'm a kid. He still doesn't like that I bought the building. He still doesn't like that his landlord is me. But the power dynamic shifted, and he can't unsee it. Sometimes he still tries. He'll slip a comment in. Must be nice. Wish I had someone handing me deals, like he can rewrite it in a luck instead of labor. And every time, I just look at him and say, you've been here 12 years. You could have bought property anytime. You chose not to. He hates that, because it puts responsibility back where it belongs. And me? I didn't become some cartoon villain landlord. I repaved part of the parking lot. I fixed the flickering sign lights. I cleaned up the dumpster area because I was tired of it looking like a raccoon nightclub. I raised rents where they were wildly under market, but I gave tenants notice, options, and clear terms. I ran it like a business because that's what it is. The strangest part is that buying that strip mall didn't give me the satisfaction I thought it would. The twist wasn't haha got you. The twist was realizing I didn't actually need his respect to feel solid. What I needed was to stop letting his voice live in my head like it owned rent-free space. So yeah, he told me I'd never own property. He said like a verdict, like my life had a ceiling. And then one day, he looked down at a lease packet and saw my name where he expected someone else's. Not because I was plotting revenge for 8 years. Because while he was busy performing ownership, I was quietly learning it.